Hello to everybody on social media. This is Rolando here, and this is the breakdown of the highly anticipated rematch between Canelo Alvarez and Triple G, also known as Gennady Golovkin. Um, what you're going to see in this video is a lot of in-depth analysis, and it's not a biased video, so that's the first and foremost thing that I want to tell you guys, you the fans. But let's go back to the fact that the first fight was a draw. Okay, I felt like coming up to the fight, leading up into the fight, it was going to be a war. A lot of people anticipated that it was going to be an old school fight like Tommy Hearns versus Marvin Hagler. It was going to be a war. It might not even go more than 5-6 rounds, a lot of people said, but it turned out to be more of a technical fight. You had Triple G using a lot of his jab. Canelo, a lot of people said that he boxed. You can say that, or you can call it the Floyd Mayweather running around the ring, whatever you want to call it. But it was a very technical fight, long story short. So the next fight that's coming up on September 15th on HBO pay-per-view is going to be the rematch. And a lot of people are hoping that it's going to be a war and that it's not going to be a draw just because the first one was a head scratcher. A lot of people thought just because the fact that it was a draw, the second fight's going to make a lot of money and it's Las Vegas and why not do it again? And the only people that really won was Las Vegas. The fact that they're going to make a whole lot of revenue for the second fight and it's, building up once again. Just keep in mind that the rematch was supposed to take place on Cinco de Mayo. Unfortunately, it did not because Canelo was busted for PEDs. In particular, he was busted for clenbuterol, which a lot of people don't really know what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of give you some more information on that. What clenbuterol is it's a fat burner, okay? And it helps you shed off fat, but retain a lot of muscle mass. So Canelo, if you ever look at his body type leading up into the past 5 years into his fights, he's a relatively big guy. If he weighed in at 147 when he was at welterweight or 154 when he fought Floyd, he always rehydrates and he can gain up to 15 to 20 pounds of muscle overnight. Keep in mind that in today's fights, you have a lot of guys that when they do the weigh-in, they're pretty much not scheduled to do a weigh-in the same day of the fight, like you had it in the 70s and 80s when Oscar De La Hoya fought and Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler, people like that, and Chavez Sr. But anyway, so today in the late 90s, I believe you had a lot of fighters actually having the benefit of putting on weight overnight into the next fight. And if you weigh in at 160 like the middleweight division is, you could literally weigh 185 pounds or whatever and gain all that weight overnight and have a competitive advantage. But, so that's the thing about today's fights. But I want to get back to the PED use, the clenbuterol. It is a banned substance. VADA, a lot of people aren't particular with that. It is a voluntary anti-doping agency. So they went ahead and tested Canelo and they found out that he pretty much tested positive, and he faced a 6-month ban, and this was back in, I believe it was in February. So now that we're already all the way in September leading up into the second fight, he served his suspension, and we're gonna have the rematch. I think if it was anybody else, it probably would have only been a 9-month ban, or if not, maybe longer. But Canelo, he's a big cash cow in Las Vegas. He generates a lot of money. They want to see him again. And, it was kind of a slap on the wrist, if you ask me. MLB players or NFL players, they're facing 4-game suspensions, if not more. And that's a lot in an NFL season. But you had that, okay? And I put up this video because this is Abel Sanchez, Triple G's trainer. And if you guys don't know, Gennady Golovkin is now being sponsored by Jordan Brand. He inked a multi-year contract deal with them about a little over a year and a half ago. And this is a video that I came across and I saw it on TV and I thought it was really interesting. So I wanted to not only, talk in this video, but I wanted to actually show you some really good videos. So check this one out, guys.
Superhuman power requires a special ingredient. called hard work.
Well, I could actually appreciate the commercial just because, it's kind of taking shots at Canelo. That's what it is really. But I like it a lot just because that special ingredient that Jordan Brand is referring to is just hard work. And with Canelo being tested positive for the PED, he blamed it on the meat in Mexico, and which I thought was kind of interesting just because his trainer Eddie Reynoso and the people that have always mentored him coming up, they were butchers. So they deal with the meat business and stuff like that. So Canelo has enough money to just totally fly in his own meat if he wanted to, and I'm just pretty surprised about that. So, the way it came about. But this is another hot topic: the hand wraps. As you can see to the left, that's Gennady Golovkin's hand wraps, and to the right is Canelo. And a lot of people, this is a video that surfaced on YouTube, and I pulled it up, so I wanted to go ahead and show you a picture of it. You can see how Triple G's hand wraps are relatively low, and they're not, very, very, they're not really wrapped, to the point where you can potentially hurt your opponent. And you can see that Canelo's are relatively, there's like a plastering to it, and that's illegal actually in boxing. And what plastering is when you hand wrap, when you put on the hand wrap and you add more than what you're supposed to, and you're kind of creating like a cast. So Abel Sanchez, Triple G's trainer, made a big thing about this, and he thought it was 100% illegal. It is illegal in California, where Triple G usually fights, but in Las Vegas they okayed this by Canelo. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I wanted to bring that up to you guys. But let's go ahead and also talk about the animosity between these two. They've taken shots on social media at each other. Triple G has recently said that Canelo is probably the dirtiest fighter that he's ever fought. Canelo comes back and says, look, I'm not going to run in the second fight. I'm going to knock you out. There's just a lot of bad blood between these two. And, it's going to be very, very interesting in the rematch to see who really is just going to talk and walk the walk. And it's just going to be, I think, hopefully the fight that we would have really wanted. And in the first fight was so technical that hopefully we see more of a war in the rematch. But I also want to bring up the fact that it can be a possible trilogy. You saw it with Pacquiao and Marquez, how they fought like 4 or 5 times, and that made so much money when they were fighting in Las Vegas. And who knows what we're gonna actually get. As far as I know, ESPN has reported that there's no rematch clause for either person. And like the first fight, Canelo had a rematch clause that if he lost, that he was promised a rematch. If Triple G lost the first fight, there wasn't going to be a guaranteed rematch. So I think that that's very interesting. But for this next fight, the rematch, there's no rematch clause for either side. So at this point, there's no indication of a trilogy. And I don't know if there really is going to be one just because of the bad blood between the two. This might be the last showdown. So that's another reason why you just cannot miss it. Let's go ahead and get into the keys of the victory for Triple G. The first one is to start early. In the first fight, Triple G had a slow start. I think that he was really nervous by being in front of over 22,000 people at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. He admitted in an HBO interview that he was nervous, flat out. So I think that he needs to start a lot faster, and he needs to dictate how the pace is going to go. Another thing, Triple G landed 108 jabs, and at 30% to Canelo's 55 landed jabs to 24%. I think Triple G, what pretty much got him in position to, some people say he won the fight, others say it was a draw. The fact that it was close, this is why it was so close. Because he outlanded Canelo on the jabs. And it seemed like, to me, Canelo had the more effective punches in the fight. But since he was running and boxing for the most part of the fight, he fought in desperation. That's the knock on Canelo for the first fight. Triple G was dictating the pace. He was coming forward. He was landing the jab and trying to set up the right hand, which he never really landed, the whole night. But he's going to have to do a better job in the rematch if he wants a decisive win. Another thing, Triple G was also, the knock on him was that he did not go to the body. He did not apply pressure when Canelo was on the ropes. Canelo oftentimes was able to escape away when he was on the ropes. And Triple G, in his previous fights, he was always able to create enough pressure to hurt his opponent. But Canelo is such a slick boxer, and he has slick upper body movement, that he was able to get away. And I think that Triple G needs to do a better job in that aspect, as well as cutting off the ring, of course. So, also to follow up with that, I put a cancellation sign here, and pretty much what it indicates is that Triple G cannot leave it in the judges' hands. Adelaide Bird was one of the judges in the first fight, and she had it 10 rounds to Canelo, 2 rounds for Triple G. That is abysmal. That just cannot happen. That's fiction. I'm sorry. Like I said, I don't want to make this video into a biased thing. I'm not that way, but I just think that if Triple G really wants to get the win the way he anticipates it, he needs to not leave it in the judges' hands at all. And I stated previously in the slide before that there's no rematch clause for either fighter. So in order for them to really get this right for both sides, and they want a decisive win, they both need to stop, think, and observe, and then proceed about what they really want to do. And if you didn't know, that's what STOP actually stands for. So I just thought I'd throw that in there. Keys to victory for Canelo. First thing is he needs to box early and often. He needs to keep the distance. Canelo landed 33% total punches compared to Triple G's 31%. That's not a huge, difference right there. But the thing is Canelo's going to have to move around, and his probably best chance to win is the fact that he can use a lot of combinations, not fight in desperation, and he needs to stay in the middle of the ring. If he can do that effectively, I believe the Canelo will win. And he needs to fight all 3-minute rounds. I talked about it before. He does not need to throw punches in desperation. If he does that, then a lot of people are going to feel that he should not get the victory. He needs to be more active. And if you didn't notice in the first fight, by the 4th or 5th round, I'll give him credit. I'll say by the 5th or 6th round, Canelo looked like he totally gassed out. I wasn't the only one that thought this. A lot of people, that I saw on social media, Earl Spence in particular, he's another boxer that's pretty famous at the welterweight division. He said, "Look, dude, Canelo just totally gassed out." So for this next fight in his training camp that he's been doing, he's gonna need to be more efficient in that department, and I think he's gonna have to be more active and work on his stamina. That does not happen overnight, so hopefully we don't see that discrepancy in the second fight, and it will be more of a decisive win, like I say. And he needs to make the fight go the distance. He is promoted by Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy, and I am more than sure that if Triple G does not make it a complete landslide of a decision, if it does go 12 rounds, Canelo's going to win. As much of a Triple G fan that I am, personally, he's not going to win a decision fight in Las Vegas when Canelo is the cash cow there. And I actually wanted to bring up this. This is Abel Sanchez, Triple G's trainer, and he was asked about the first fight, how Canelo fought. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video, and you guys can definitely show me what you think.
Abel, do you think Canelo will be more aggressive in the rematch?
Hell yeah! I sure hope so. I sure hope so, because I think these fans deserve the kind of fight that they expected the first time. They deserve the kind of fight that he was talking about the first time, that he keeps talking about now, and that Oscar is saying now. As a promoter, I know that he wants to sell a fight that the people are going to pay for and want to see again. The first fight is not one that he can sell too many times and lie to these people like he did the first time.
Well, Saul, you said that Golovkin won't have any excuse this time because you're going to knock him out. So how are you going to change your style or strategy this fight?
Primero que nada quiero decir también mentiste a tus fans. Dijiste que me ibas a noquear en 6 rounds.
First off, I want to start by saying you also lied to your fans because you said that he would knock me out under 6 rounds. What happened there?
Fue difícil, pero it's impossible to knock somebody out when he fights the fight not to be knocked out. When you run,
Tú les prometiste,
it's impossible to catch
les prometiste a tus
You
fans.
promised your fans that he would knock me out.
You promised us also you were going to fight the knock Golovkin out in 10. You
Les
didn't.
prometiste que me ibas a noquear y no me hiciste nada.
Nah, don't run.
And he didn't do
no
anything.
no corras la siguiente vez.
Y
A
te,
ver si no
y
te
te- y te
noquean.
hablo a ti porque
No
tu
corras.
peleador no dice nada.
No corras.
Eres el que más abres el hocico.
No corras. Póngase como hombre ahí.
So you heard him say in Spanish, Abel Sanchez, póngase como hombre ahí. And that pretty much means fight like a man. So that was a knock on him for the first fight, you know, for Canelo. But here's Bernard Hopkins' breakdown of the rematch. And I think he did it a pretty good job. That's why I'm going to go ahead and show you guys this.
Canelo, Triple G, was an event that lived up to its promise. Canelo came out looking very loose and relaxed, establishing position early, utilizing a combination of attacks, and employing a great defense. When Triple G tried to swing, Canelo put the matrix on him and answered with solid counters. Even when Triple G did land a power shot, Canelo took it well and kept his poise. But while Canelo shined early, Triple G applied the pressure throughout, dictating the pace, sticking his jab, and draining the energy of his younger opponent. But Canelo was able to slip away, winning enough late rounds to earn himself the draw. The next time around, both men promised a result that will leave zero doubt. For Canelo, it all begins with conditioning. It was clear he gassed out early, but with a full tank of gas, he could control the center of the ring more effectively, turning his defense into offense with sharp counters. Last year, I said Canelo would be crazy to fight Triple G off the ropes. And I was right. Perception matters in boxing, with the judges and the fans. So Canelo needs to fight all 3 minutes of every round. Because Triple G will bring the pressure again. But for Gennady, the real challenge is this. He needs to become unpredictable. In the first fight, he barely attacked the body. Triple G needs to target Canelo's ribcage early to seal his fate in the late rounds. And he has to do a better job cutting off the ring. Canelo was able to slip out the back door and buy himself time to recover. Like I said, the fight delivered what it promised. An absolute war that forced both men to dig deep and show their true character. But it didn't settle who's best. We'll need to see it one more time to answer that question.
So it was a pretty good video. You guys saw it there, Bernard Hopkins breaking down, former champion at the middleweight division back in the 90s and I think late 80s. But anyway, you know, he is also promoted with Canelo with Golden Boy. I didn't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to go ahead and get to the prediction. I believe that Triple G is going to stop Canelo in the late, I want to say 11th round. It's going to be a TKO. I don't believe that he's going to flat out knock him out, but I believe that he's going to be able to do enough damage to have them throw in the towel. Look, Triple G cannot leave it in the judges' hands. If he does, it's going to go Canelo's way. That's just boxing politics. But I just believe that this is going to be a magnificent fight, and it's going to be a legacy fight for both fighters, and it should be everything that we pay for. So September 15th, HBO pay-per-view, Canelo versus Triple G, the rematch. Hopefully it is everything that we pay for. Till next time, thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.